How does Matlala know that a minister has got wishes? You sit with your lawyers, you express your wishes, and then you go separate ways. Before you know it, affidavit comes from maximum prison. Do you think the NPKTT did a good job or not?
I think they did a good job in the context in which they were doing. They were created to deal with political killings in the main councillors. They then added Amakosi after that, Induna. They then added other crime activities like Forte, which I don't believe had anything to do with politics and so on.
Immediately means now. It doesn't mean any other thing, except that it means now. So, as a minister who's got a driver, because you're giving examples of cars, and they're driving, you're at the back, then you say to them, hey, Chief, stop the car immediately. They must stop it next week. In the context, in whatever context, must stop next week. Because when you say stop the car immediately, stops now. So immediately only means that, doesn't mean any other thing in whatever context. If you say, well, stop the car immediately, and there is no yellow lane or anywhere where they can park, they will be looking at finding a way to stop this car immediately, because the principal said we must stop the car immediately. That should have been the understanding of the letter of the 31st. When you wrote it, you were expecting that must stop now. Can we all agree that that is the understanding? Not that in the contest it meant this and that and that. Yes. Chair. Through you.
Yes, Honorable Minister, you may respond.
The difficulty with that streamlined meaning is that it leaves out what is in the context concretely. The directive doesn't end there. It doesn't say stop now or disband now. It talks about a preliminary report, which I don't believe, I respect your view, but I don't believe we should remove the preliminary report. I don't believe we should remove the UNESCO meeting where same was going to be discussed as per one directive, because it didn't come in any other day. It came on the same day in the same directive. So, yes, I can't say immediate doesn't mean now, but in the context in which it was said, it has a context which gives it that kind of meaning within context.
So when you say they must stop immediately, and then what was the thought about what's going to happen to the dockets?
Yes, it was to say, go and prepare, in other words, a preliminary report of this directive, because it has to be implemented by them. And once we've looked at the preliminary report, there would be a UNESCO meeting. So that was the thought when I wrote the directive. At the same time as I wrote the directive, it was connected in that particular fashion.
And when the dockets finds themselves in CBS position, out of CBS instruction, what do you do about it?
That would be the subject of discussion of the preliminary report, because the preliminary report is an operational implementation matter with all the implications of the directive. They would then say, this directive means this is what we must do or not do with dockets. This is what we must do or not do with staff. This is what we must do or not do with cases that are on, and all the related matters. They would then include them in the preliminary report, which would give us a way forward.
Yeah, but when you hear out of the directive, the dockets are with Sevilla. the instruction is given, all processes and all of that. The next thing, the dockets have been removed, including dockets that were ready to go to court, and then are taken to Sibia's office. When that is brought to your attention, what did you do about it?
When I heard about that, well, we were going to, either we were going to or we were from the meeting, but I know that it was the subject of the meeting of the 6th, what would happen with dockets. Actually, in that meeting, National Commissioner did verbally say to motivate the staggered wind down of National Political Killing Stars team. In the motivation, he said he wouldn't want to see dockets disappearing in the process, and I agreed with him. And he said it's based on experience, and I agreed with him. The only concern I raised was that, well, December 2025, if there's a way of quickening the process, I also said, but even December 25, if there would still be matters in court, maybe we should couch it in a different way so that it doesn't say until the last matter is no longer in court. So we were debating and thinking about that matter. So that's what happened.
What have you done when you hear 121, you're a minister, 121 dockets, some of them ripe for court, have been taken from the investigating people, and they are now in the hands of General Sibia or in his office? You hear that, that should be terrifying. And what did you do about it? I hear all of that. What did you do about it in the immediate as a responsible executive for that department? And this is happening out of your directive. Everybody, whatever confusion is there, but the reality is that 121 cases have been taken. Families have not been briefed why their cases have been taken away. Some of those cases are ready for court. It doesn't matter. Let everything come to Pretoria under General Sibia. That comes to your attention if you didn't know that that was going to happen. But we all now know there are 121 dockets in Pretoria. As a minister who's very good at giving directives, what directive did you give on this one?
Now, the matter was actually being handled at that time by the National Commissioner, and I took the line that says that they are resolving the matter because there was no standoff. For instance, I asked General Senzo Mchunu, did you, when these dockets were handed over, was it at gunpoint? And she said, no, it was not at gunpoint. We knew what we were doing, and I took the line that says they are handling the matter. They should be able to resolve it maybe even now as I'm talking, or tomorrow, or something like that. I trusted that the matter was being handled by senior people, two divisional commissioners, and then the national commissioner, and also the deputy national commissioner.
So I take it the answer is the minister did not do anything, even when this information became a public information, because you were under the impression that the national commissioner and whoever responsible were attending to the matters because they were more of operational matters.
There wasn't any other way. If you believed and trusted that they are handling it, you wouldn't call a meeting. You wouldn't give a directive because they were already handling the matter. And my trust was based on the belief that they were handling it and handling it properly. That's why I asked that question at some point.
So on the 31st of December, everybody is in a jovial mood. You are at home. You are not even in any place. You are home, where everybody is happy. It's New Year's Eve. And you are troubled by the crime that is happening. You're trying to think what needs to happen and all of that. And then you come to a conclusion that the crime intelligence post must be stopped. The advent of those posts must be stopped immediately and all of that. How does that help resolve your problem of crime? Because you are troubled by crime. How does stopping posts help you to fight this thing of crime?
No, posts were not going to be, they were going to be discussed at the first meeting as per directive with the National Commissioner. So he said stop until we discuss the matter, which would be in January. And this was the 31st. Now, it is indeed, as you say, everybody else was busy with UAE
Festivities.
and so on. But I had not reached the end of processing what I had started and even discussed with the deputy ministers. And I wanted, when the year begins, when we go back, we go there full of purpose in terms of specific issues that I had identified. Remember, I had called a meeting, National Commissioner, Deputy Commissioners, and Provincial Commissioner to say, I'm troubled, I'm being troubled, and I was honest. I was being troubled by these matters and so on, and everybody else in the country was troubled. So I was still processing up and down and so on. Why not discuss on the 28th? I was processing, I had not settled. And then I settled at home in a rural area. And then my mind focuses on one thing. We had been all over. I was deployed in Cape Town and in the Eastern Cape myself on Christmas days and all of those things. And I circled for the first time. Then this thing comes together. I start piecing things faster than I had done all the time. And the answer was, write a directive so that when the year begins, you are all in part focused on these matters because they're troubling a lot of people. And I'm honest that these matters, in my observation, were troubling a lot of people and the country as a whole.
But Minister, there was nothing that was going to happen in between the 31st and the official return. I know the police don't close and all of that, but the business of our country at that time, meaning everybody's withdrawn. And there was nothing urgent that will force you on the 31st of December to say, this, I have to issue this letter now. Why not wait because now it looks very suspicious. It's like a tender that is being awarded on the 28th of December. You're like, why? Everybody's on holiday. Even the mindset is now different. And you now drag us into this serious business on the 31st of December. It doesn't make any business sense, really.
That would add that would add on my side that what did immediate mean? I knew that there would be nobody who will, as a matter of today, call a meeting and convey the message and so on. But I wanted all of us to have it so that at the beginning of the year, we are able to say there was a directive written on the 31st. And remember, there's nothing untoward about a minister writing a directive on the 31st. It could have been a different directive altogether from this one. It could have said at the beginning of the year, employ people or facilitate or whatever. It could have been any directive within the law. Now, it was this directive, and all I wanted was, let's focus early in the year on these matters. And I was quite troubled by them, as I am right now.
Now, Minister, there are alleged SMSs, WhatsApp exchange between Mokgotsi and Ngabinde about you. There's an allegation that Matlala bought a table at the ANC dinner, your table. I'll still come to that because the explanation you gave on the table, I don't accept that. All of these negative things about Matlala, who is arrested to have killed people, who who has implicated minister on this or that, and you still, of all people, go and ask an affidavit from Matala, who's in maximum prison. And in answering that question, actually, I just want to quote so I don't make a mistake. I think there was a bit of dishonesty there, because you're saying the first answer is until I came in. You never, because you now realize on hindsight it was wrong for you to go and get an affidavit from a character like that. And you say, my legal team took their own initiative to obtain the affidavit. You said the initial, that was your original response. And when I intervened, you then say, no, it was my wish, and agreed to instructing them. So you give two answers on one question, that the lawyers acted on their own, which is unethical, and I point to that if they did that, they will be reported to LPC. There's no lawyer that can listen to you and out of feeling pity, without you giving them instruction, go to maximum prison to get an affidavit from a dangerous man. Then you say, no, I gave them instructions. Despite what is happening in this country about this man, despite what brings us here, because at the center of it is that Matala takes decisions about this or that. If he's been told that PKTT is being disbanded and all of that, you still want to have something to do with such a person, whereas on an official legal documents, which are going to go before Matlanga, before Parliament, and perhaps ultimately in court. Why would you want to associate with such a character? Whereas if you say you don't know him? Because I was, for instance, associated with Matala. My wife's surname is Matala. And it was immediately assumed that I know Matala. I've never issued a statement. I've never written anything. I don't care what they think. I don't know the chap. But you, because you are lawyers, it's you. You pass all these big fences of maximum prison looking for an affidavit from an unethical man who's in prison. How do you justify that, Minister?
Now, let me read this. It will add another dimension. I may have used all those words, but what is actually written down is a straight answer to you. It says, dear Mr. July, July is my lawyer. It says, I confirm that I act on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Matlala, my clients, who have directed that I send this email to you. I understand that you represent the police commissioner, Mr. Senzo Mchunu, at the Madlanga Commission. Well, I'm sure he meant police minister. My instructions are to present to you an affidavit deposed by Mr. Matlala. In essence, Mr. Matlala denies any dubious dealings with minister and wishes for what he terms General Mkhuna's false allegations to be investigated. For that purpose, the following documents are attached to this email. Then I attach those emails. Now, this suggests that even the lawyers never went to maximum prison. There was discussion between the two lawyers. After I had said, we are leaving no stone unturned where there is my name and concerns. Now remember, in the background, on a daily basis, if not on an hourly basis, people write false things about me and my name, and link me to people I'm not linked with or to in anything. And you have to, there won't be any thing coming from heaven that would actually clarify the matter. So anything that is legal, anything that is proper in terms of documentation and all of that between the lawyers, and they found that possible, that it could be, not that they traveled, Not that there's anything illegal, because people on a daily basis, as I say, they write dotted lines, which I don't understand what they mean, because nobody out there has any confirmation of anything between me and Matlala. Absolutely nothing. And I can go anywhere and say people must remain behind and investigate anything linked, but they still do it on national television without a piece of evidence. Now, I don't want to spare any moment making sure or making efforts that I have no link with Matlala. That's why I even got my diary to the lawyers to say, here is my diary, in case you believe that you are merely defending me on something that I otherwise know, and then you are going to come with legal strategies. Now, you must know, this is my diary. I was not in Cape Town. I was elsewhere. And I never requested anyone to coordinate any
Minister, we
dinner
have a
whatsoever.
limited time. Chair, and I want you and the honorable members to note this. We are being given the third answer on the same question. The first answer was, my lawyers went without an instruction. Then upon being made aware that they've committed something unethical, then the minister says, no, I actually gave them an instruction. Then I point this two contradictory statements to the minister. The minister gives a third answer on the same question. No, actually, my lawyers didn't go. I didn't give them instruction. It's Matlala who writes to my lawyers uninvited, dear Mr. So-and-so, I represent, which means, which answer stands here? Because it's either the lawyers went without the minister's permission, or the minister gave them the instruction, or Matlala wrote the letter uninvited by anyone. So, Minister, please clarify these three, because as things are, it's becoming worse now. Because you gave me three answers. The lawyers went without me. Then I said, no, they can't do that, it's unethical. Oh, I gave them instruction, it was my wish. Okay, you now give them instruction, you still want to have access to people who are behind big fences and walls at maximum prison. No. It's not that. Actually, Matlala and the wife, now the wife comes now, for the first time since we canvassed this question. Matlala and the wife's lawyer wrote and said they represent them, and we must get their affidavit because we are going to Matlanga's commission. Which one do we take home here? Because it's not me. You know, Minister, the worry is you shouldn't think you are speaking to me. These matters, as you stand there addressing us, you are clarifying the country which is troubled by these things, that ministers have got access to dangerous criminals to an extent that they can even have access to them even when they are behind bars. Matlala was found with a phone in a maximum prison. Matlala produces a minister's affidavit from a maximum prison. According to minister's evidence that it's not me, he wrote to me. Because of that, then we used the affidavit. What is the answer, Chair?
The answer is, I did say in the discussion, in the course of discussion over time with lawyers, I did express a need or a wish that I distance myself or be away from Matlala. Remember, I had issued a statement on the 9th of July saying I've never spoken to Matlala, I've never received or asked for anything from him. So I made this statement. Now, we discuss with the lawyers. You are open. You are relating your wishes that relate to the case. Now, once I expressed that, now that wish, you call it an instruction. I don't want to disagree with you that it was an instruction as received. Next thing, lawyers then pursuing my wish. They call Matlala's lawyers. And then this is the result. Now, I don't think you should stress this thing any far or any further, other than what it is. That is an expression of what I had said, because I said, I don't know. If this affidavit was saying anything different, then I would be concerned. But this says what I said I never, and so on, and I expressed a wish. And I don't think there's any other better authority than a person himself, that there's no line whatsoever between him and myself.
Minister, where do I get that letter you're reading? Because I want to read it again. It doesn't say. If your lawyers approach those guys, they would have said, dear so-and-so, in line with the letter you wrote to us requesting affidavit from our client, please find attached affidavit. It says, dear so-and-so, we represent so-and-so, and therefore we represent Matlala and the wife, and our client wishes to state it clear that he doesn't know the minister and this is the affidavit. So it's not what you are saying. Your wishes were never delivered to Matlala by your lawyers,
Never.
according to that letter.
Never.
So how does Matlala now know minister has got wishes to have
My lawyer spoke to his lawyers. That's what I'm saying.
check? Where do you find this letter the minister is referring to?
You'll find the copy. Here is this.
No, I'm saying in our attachments.
Oh, okay.
Do we have?
No.
SC.
No, Chair, we've just been asking for the copy of the letter. We haven't received it.
Can I please have the copy?
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks, Chair. I start from which page? The cover page. Dear Mr. Julius, thank you for your email. No, it has not been sent to the Commission. Dear Advocate, we acknowledge a receipt of the affidavit. We clarify, for clarity, was this forwarded to Madlanga Commission? Dear Mr. Julius, I confirm that I act on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Matlala, who have directed, you mark that, who have directed that I send this email to you. I understand that you represent the police commissioner, Mr. Senzo Mchunu, at the Madlanga Commission. They don't say, we acknowledge your request, and following that request, please find attached affidavit of Mr. Matlala. So this letter is the first initiative in relation to the affidavit. How does Matlala know that a minister has got wishes? You sit with your lawyers, you express your wishes, and then you go separate ways. Before you know it, affidavit comes from maximum prison to your lawyer, who has never communicated with the lawyer of Matlala, or who has never spoken to Matlala himself. So how does Matlala now come to send you an affidavit which you have not requested, which earlier on you said you gave them instruction, earlier on you said they acted on their own, and then so on. Now we'll park that. We now are here. What gives effect to this letter? What makes these people to write this letter and then send you an affidavit?
It's my lawyers talking to Matlala's lawyers.
Okay. Let me leave it, Chair. Why would a minister, even if this guy gave you the affidavit, where is, I know legally there's nothing wrong and all of that, but morally society has got a problem with this chap. And you still want to associate in a way with this chap, because you didn't need Matlala's affidavit to tell us that you don't know Matlala, because we'll have Matlala as well. He's on our list to ask him, do you know the minister? And if he says yes, then we know there's contradictions. Perhaps further inquiry will be made. But you don't need Matlala's affidavit in your clean papers, your morally high standard papers. You don't need such a character's affidavit to be attached and to be associated with you. This is a guy they say got 360 million tender in your department, and you say you cancelled it because it was wrongly awarded. Why would you want to be associated with such a person, irrespective of him writing in your favor that, no, I don't know the minister, irrespective of writing in your, it's a character you don't want to be associated with. Now we're sitting here, you've got a affidavit from a morally questionable character, whereas a character that writes an affidavit from maximum prison.
I don't want to be associated with Matlala. This is what the affidavit says.
But you are now associated. We've got Matlala's affidavit. You've got Matlala's signature in your papers.
I don't want to be associated.
So why put his affidavit in your papers?
The affidavit doesn't say so. I don't want to be associated with him.
Yeah.
In any way. And this is what the affidavit says.
Yeah, but
By
who you get
lawyers.
affidavits from is very important. You don't just get affidavit from questionable characters, especially people who are behind bars. That as a minister of police, even if there's nothing legally wrong, you should just know it might raise certain questions, which gave, this situation we find ourselves in. Had you not solicited anything from Matlala, whereas in maximum prison where it should be difficult to access him, we now sitting here and you've got Matlala's affidavit and we've been told that you are associated with Matlala, you are enabling Matlala to engage in illegal activities in the department and all of that. Something that you came here to clarify, but you come carry Matlala's affidavit to come and clarify us that Matlala must tell us from prison through you that you are not associated with him. I find that a bit problematic, Minister. I will leave it there, Chair, but I want to ask now, the Interministerial Committee, because we all, not all, but I heard you making a mistake that the president formed the NPKTT. You called NPKTT. It was not formed by the president. The president formed the Interministerial Committee, which was constituted by ministers from different departments. And then those ministers brought their administrators and people who can process these issues into those meetings where they said to them, guys, and that's the evidence we had here. We have a crisis here. How do we go about it? How do we resolve it? And then suggestions have been thrown around, and then it's left to those guys to go and put up a plan and then come back to the Interministerial Committee and say, we think we need to form a political killing task team. So on your own, as politicians, you are not going to do it. You had no power to do it. You could only sit there and canvass issues politically and say, we want to deal with this thing, and this is how we think we can deal with it, but go and work on it and come back to us. That's exactly what they did and came back to you. And that's how the Interministerial Committee is constituted. There will be a national commissioner. If there is justice there will be NDPP and maybe DG of Justice Department. If there is state security, there will be DG and whoever. They will all come with you so that they listen to what are the concerns of the principals, and then they go and do what is expected of them. And therefore, technically, I put it to you, it was not established by politicians. No president established a national political killing task team. It was a product of the interministerial committee, which instructed the administrators to go and work out a plan, brought it back, ironed it up, and then it was actualized administratively, as it were, but having considered the political interest of the political principles.
So what's your question?
The question is, do you still convinced that you have a power to disband that which you have not established?
Yes, I did say the Interministerial Committee is not part of the 7th Administration. And the Minister of Police was chair of that Interministerial Committee. It means that when there was no Interministerial Committee, the office or the department that is overseeing it is that of police, led by a member of cabinet. Then I'm confronted with all the issues that I've related, all these issues, and I want to do something out of that particular problem. And then I act in the manner that I did, supported by the Constitution and supported by the legislative framework. And I don't see anything wrong in terms of the law as such, because I don't see any other way, or couldn't see any other way. Yes, I may have, people are talking about consulting before or after and so on, but the reality of the matter is that we have a Minister of Police was allowed by legislation, I believe so, and the Constitution, I believe so, and I went on to do this.
Minister, you seem to suggest that interministerial committees get dissolved with elections. It's not, with due respect, interministerial committee is not Minister Mchunu, Minister News.l.l, Minister, it's Minister of Police, Minister of Defense, meaning that minister will always be there even if those individuals are no longer there. Because if you are arguing it that way, that something established on the, during the 6th term, when the 7th term comes in, it automatically gets dissolved. Then you have to make reference, you have to show us where, which terms of reference of interministerial committee said that when the term of political office of certain politicians comes to an end, automatically this comes to an end. Where? Because there's no law that says that. That's why these things are not constituted by individuals. They are constituted by departments which will always be there even when we are no longer there. So part of your handover is Minister of Police. Part of what I'm responsible for is the chairing of interministerial committee that is responsible for political killings task team, amongst other things. These are the people who constitute that interministerial, because you inherit those activities. And when you guys go back and meet together as a collective that represent these departments, you then say, no, we don't think there is a need for this to go on, and therefore let's close this and give the president a report. A person who established the interministerial committee that produced political killing task team has not dissolved the interministerial committee. We only had the announcement of the interministerial committee, but there is no date for the dissolution of the interministerial committee. And therefore, it means you came in and just undermined what has been there. The political killing task team is not only constituted by police. There are prosecutors who are also dedicated to those things. They are magistrate or whatever dedicated to those responsibilities. And therefore, for one single minister to take a decision to dissolve a team that involves other departments, it can't be constitutional. No constitutional power gives you to dissolve a task team members of prosecutors who are dealing with political killings. You can't.
No,
Because you speak about this thing as if it's only police who are involved. That's why it came from interministerial committee. It's a product of interministerial committee because it's constituted by different people, not only the police. And if that is the case, you have no power to dissolve other people who don't belong to your department. What do you have to say about that, Ms.?
My response is that there was no interministerial committee in the 7th administration. And interministerial committee is constituted by the president and cabinet, not by any other person as you wish, or you as you may wish. It doesn't feature, and I didn't have power to call other ministers on the basis that in the 6th administration there was interministerial committee when it is not there. It wouldn't work. It doesn't work.
Minister, is your answer that once the new administration comes in, interministerial committees are automatically dissolved?
That's how it works, unless the interministerial committees, because they are announced, to say there's an interministerial committee chaired by so-and-so for what and so on and so on. These things are announced, they are done deliberately. They don't get, you don't walk into the new administration automatically with what was in the 6th administration. It doesn't work like that.
Do you have a closing report of that interministerial committee? Because if you say it dissolves, it must have a closing report that now we're out, the term has come to an end, there will be a new administration, this is how we've dealt with the issues. Where's the closing report of this interministerial committee, which will have, perhaps amongst other things, informed your decision to dissolve the PKT team?
No, I know that the last time the interministerial committee met was 2023. I know there was a press briefing in March in 2024. I don't have a report of the interministerial committee, closing report or whatever report. All I have is a handover report from former Minister Cele, who was indicating what activities are taking place under his stewardship.
Minister, are you aware that there is a interministerial task team that was established in 2022, is still in place now on traditional leadership? And how many administrations have changed since then?
It would mean that it has featured in all the next administrations, but deliberately so, not taken for granted that it exists.
Yeah, but you can't show any minutes of cabinet that says in this administration that interministerial committee is dissolved. There is no such a thing. The president doesn't dissolve the interministerial committee. Cabinet doesn't, because if you say the 2022 interministerial task team is featuring in these different administrations, it means this one we're talking about, of political killing task team, did not fall into this new administration. But for it not to fall into this new administration, the cabinet would have had to resolve, or the president would have had to make that decision that this interministerial committee has come to an end. You can't give me all of both the president's minutes or note or the cabinet minutes that says this team, interministerial committee, has since been dissolved. It doesn't belong to us.
Yeah, I don't believe that it works like that, that there's ever a day when you dissolve whatever ministerial committee or task team of cabinet that would have been there. It gets pronounced deliberately in terms of reference and all of those things, and we start working.
Minister, there is no rule you are referring me to. There is no terms of reference you are referring me to. There is no presidential executive decision you are referring me to. Nothing that says the interministerial committee on political killing task team has come to an end. There's no, and you don't even say it is automatic. And if you say it's automatic, you have to refer me to some binding documents, either the Constitution or whatever guidelines or terms of reference that are there. You came in and ignored the interministerial committee and proceeded like it's not there without anyone saying to you it's no longer there. Two, interministerial committee was not going to convene itself because it was convened by the Minister of Police. Wherever they are still waiting for you to convene them. You are not saying you took an effort to convene them. And they come together and you say to them, guys, this is the end of it. We now are going the separate ways. No closing report, nothing. We cannot have a government that works like that. You can't say to me, it doesn't work like that. The government announces this initiative, and when the initiative has come to an end, they must respectfully come back to the citizens and say, this brings us to the end on this matter. We have since submitted the closing report to the president or something to that effect. If you say this is how you guys have gone about it, that is disrespectful to our society, which knows that there is an interministerial committee that deals with these matters, and then it gets dissolved. It doesn't even have a courtesy of saying goodbye. When it comes in, it knocks. When it leaves, it doesn't say bye. That's a root interministerial committee. So, Minister, you are the one who ignored the interministerial committee and overlooked it and didn't care. Because if you say Minister Julius came and briefed you about this and that, he would have told you, amongst other things I was doing, was to chair the interministerial committee seized with the political killings in KZN. What's your response to it?
My response is the same as said before, that in the 7th administration, you don't have an interministerial committee on the National Political Task Team. And if you say I ignored, you mean to say it was created and I didn't assume or perform my duties as far as that is concerned after it had been established in the 7th administration. And I'm saying in response, it was not established. So I couldn't ignore something that doesn't exist. And no cabinet. So you are like me. If I can't find a closing report of the interministerial, you can't find it either. I would have been happier if you said, out of my own worry, I went to look for the closing report, I found it, or the minutes, I found them, or whatever you are talking about. Those documents don't exist. And I am not responsible for their non-existence.
So seated here, me and you, there was no date of the dissolution of the Interministerial Committee of the 6th administration. There was no date of its dissolution. And your argument is, in your 7th administration, there was no establishment of an interministerial committee. Inofella moyeng, so it just disappeared, just like that. After coming up with such a powerful instrument to fight crime in South Africa, and then you come in, the whole thing just disappeared, and you say we must accept that the 7th administration never had a thing. This is the same government, this is the same president who has established the whole thing. You'll expect that there will be a continuity, and if there is no longer a need, then you'll come and say, you come together and say, guys, we no longer need this, we're done. Because we've been canvassing this point with you, Minister. You dissolved the interministerial committee single-handedly because you are the convener. I mean, they never said Honorable Senzo Mchunu. They said the interministerial committee will be convened by the Minister of Police. And when you came in, you had a duty to convene the interministerial committee. You didn't. You dissolved it unannounced and then proceeded to take this kind of actions you took without consultation with anyone.
That's not correct. That's not factual.
But how do you explain?
It's your thoughts.
No, but
and I respect those thoughts.
No, but Minister, how do you explain that a committee that must be chaired by Minister of Police, you come in as a Minister of Police, you don't convene it, and then you say, it's automatic that when the new administration comes in, it automatically dissolves. And I'm like, show me the law that says that. You can't point me to any law that says that.
Now, I'm saying you are sharing your thoughts with us, not necessarily talking facts. The fact is, in the 7th administration, there isn't an interministerial committee on national political testing.
So before you dissolve PKTT, such a powerful fighting force against crime, you don't talk to anyone. You don't talk to your colleagues in cabinet. You will say it doesn't work like that. You don't talk to the man who established the interministerial committee which produced this, including your not legal advisor, your special advisor who's an advocate. You don't talk to him. On your own, you take a decision as powerful as this, alone, without consultation. And you want to argue that you consulted the president after the fact. Why? Democracy wouldn't work like that.
We have discussed this thing at some length here in the ad hoc committee, and I referred the committee at the meeting of the 1st of November, and I referred also to the meeting of the 22nd of November, and I showed you my comments of the Honorable Committee, my comments there in those two meetings, and the comments made by the National Commissioner. Now, you can't then say you never discussed with anybody, you alone, when in fact minutes are there indicating very clearly in black and white that we were in a meeting, we discussed, and I have said long before I arrived, there was a study which was for all practical purposes intended to be brought into existence and replace the National Political Killings Task Team. And I said again, before I arrived, there was a memorandum that was asking for an extension, but in fact asking for a funding of 94 million. And 20 million was advanced to that team before I arrived. So I'm not the first one who come and I talk about disbandment. And further to that, I'm saying there have been pressures that have become prominent in terms of what is expected of a Department of Police, in terms of bringing down crime generally, but even specific matters. And long before I arrived, there's a structure that is being done, completed, implemented. In fact, in 2024, there was an implementation document signed and put in the office or on the table of the National Commissioner. And it was not processed for over a year until it gets processed in 2025. Now, all those things will tell you that there was always an intention to disband or to dissolve the National Political Killings Task Team based on what people were doing at that time. So I come at some point and I found all these intentions in writing, not in theory, coupled with what I then do in terms of analyzing the situation. And I did speak here that 35% of killings in South Africa come from organized crime. 34 come from taxi violence, and 24 come from political killings task team. And I said about 7 come from personal killings. So when you discuss a matter like this, you have to put it into context. You don't isolate it. You don't single it out as if minister was appointed to preside over the National Political Task Team. There was a whole department, the whole functionality of police, and the minister was allowed to think anew and make your own contribution that you believe would work, and not merely say, I'm continuing with what has happened, despite the imperatives, even the new objectives outlined by the president. You don't do it like that. You apply your mind, you discuss, you change even the structure. What are you going to say about the structure? The departmental organogram. Do you say, I didn't consult when I dealt with the new structure, trying to make it adapt to the new conditions? You're not going to say so. So don't single out one thing. Take everything that we have done in the department and not therefore say, just because of the way in which we dealt with National Political Killings Task Team, then every other thing doesn't count. It can't work like that.
So, Minister, Brown Mokhodzi is not your close associate, he's your comrade, who you have his phone and you communicate and all of that. What is the difference between a close associate and comrades? Are we not just playing with semantics? Because you denied that is your close associate, but you talk on the phone, you've got phone numbers of each other. What is the difference there between, because you denied in the committee on the 5th of March. And then now you agree, he's my comrade, I've known him from 2017. What is the difference?
I have so many people, just to put it simply.
No, even before you proceed, I heard you giving example with Honorable Bredenbach, saying, I know you, but we know you know her, the same way you know all of us, but you can't claim to be a comrade of Honorable Bredenbach or anything of that, but you know her. And you can't claim to have a number and you communicate constantly and all of that. But when we bring it to you that you are a close associate, you say, no, I'm not a close associate, I'm a comrade. That is playing with semantics.
No, not at all. I deny that strongly. It doesn't work like that. On my cell phone, I can't tell you offhand how many people I have as contacts, as written on the cell phone, names and surname and numbers. Some of the numbers, or many of the numbers, I've held for many years. Now, I'm not being asked questions why I keep those numbers, why I talk to those people, why I use those numbers. And I want to guess, and I'm merely taking a chance. You also have quite a lot of people on your cell phone who are there. Now, I don't know why I'm being asked to display is data sotando for Mkhotsi. Now that there are problems arising in that angle, people want you to confirm, come here and say, cha nginesdata sotando luka Mkhotsi or sokwazana nomkhotsi. Alukho. And ayikho leyo contact ongayibeza oyibeke ku status of an associate, even referring to the dictionary what an associate is. The person who chose to say I'm Mkhotsi's associate would have consulted the dictionary and he knew what he was saying. And when I go there myself, I shouldn't be blamed for doing what they did. And then using that word. I'm using the same word, the same term. And I'm saying I'm not. And I'm saying, if everybody you call just because they are on your cell phone, so you're all my associates. So let's bring everything to a standstill and say, all right, Mkhotsi is my associate. And I'm saying he is not my associate. I've never gone anywhere with him. Restaurant, sit down anywhere. It has never happened beyond just phoning. So I don't know why I would be associated to somebody that I'm saying myself. I'm not. If, for instance, somebody I know passes on and I go to some funeral and you find that in a funeral, there is somebody who is a fugitive of law or is an alleged criminal or something like that, what do? You run away. You don't stay for the whole funeral. You stay. But are you not associating yourself with somebody alleged to be a criminal? If pictures of you come to the public knowledge that you were there at the funeral, surely you have something to, and there needs to be substance when you say this person is associated to this person. I don't have any substance. Mkhotsi phoned General Mkhwana a number of times, even congratulated him, according to him, for something. I've never heard that kind of message from Mkhotsi. I don't mean other things that you see, and they look like they are many. I mean, things like Lusikisiki, they don't exist. That thing doesn't exist. That thing in Cape Town doesn't exist.
Minister, no, I understand, but you can't say to us, I don't understand why you bring Mkhotsi here and all. We didn't bring Mkhotsi here. It's Mkhotsi who brought you. It's Mkhotsi. Minister, you seem...
It's for the two of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's two in one. Minister, you seem to be have ever claimed to have received a letter of the 31st of December from you. None of those people you have as your contact that we are not questioning you about have never claimed that they've asked money from Matala to buy a table for you for the ANC dinner here in Cape Town in the January 8 rally or something like that. And none of those people in your contact have ever claimed that to Matala, that issue that has been troubling you of PKTT, that has been abusing you, is being dissolved. I've got a letter here. Now, it is your comrade. It's not us. It is your comrade who does that. Yes. And even goes around says, yes, yeah, I'm his comrade, this and that, and all of that. So we cannot be blamed when we take up an issue with you sharing a sensitive document. The only person who has confirmed the relationship with Mkhotsi, it's you, Minister. And Mkhotsi is in position of a sensitive letter that comes from you. And any reasonable person will be tempted to agree that perhaps the minister shared this letter with Mkhotsi, since Mkhotsi has got, amongst these three, the close relationship is God, is with the minister through comradeship. You don't call all those people you have. I've got contacts here. Some I even forgot, but I don't call them. I don't share any sensitive information with them unless those people are known to me and I'm confident and I know that I can describe my relationship with those people. Let's say, for instance, I've got General Sibia's number, like I do with many generals and ministers and deputy ministers. But I can't claim to be a friend, and Sibia can't claim to be my friend. But I know him. I will call him on matters of the police that I think, look, there is this issue and it seems like you're not paying attention and anything of that sort. I can't deny that, but to stretch it to comradeship, to stretch it to friendship, none of us can claim that kind of a relationship between us. But you have said, this is my comrade, and this your comrade says, the minister is now dissolving that thing that has been giving you nightmares. The minister wants us to buy a table. The minister this and the minister that. When we come to you, say, this guy says he knows you, and he goes around saying the following things about you. Say, yeah, it's my comrade, but I don't know what he's talking about. It's a bit troublesome, Minister.
Now, generally, what you are saying, I agree with. That there are specific things that are being done by Mkhotsi according to his behavior and all of that. And that generally other people that I've contact with, they don't behave like Mkhudzi. I believe, I accept that. But specifically, I'm saying I'm aware of things that I wasn't aware of about Brown Mkhudzi since 2017. 2018, I didn't become aware of what I'm aware of now and all the time. So now that I'm aware of what he associates himself with in terms of activities, in terms of what he says, in terms of the people that he links up with, it has become public. It's a different matter altogether. And I'm conscious about that. Very, very conscious about that. And very worried. That's why I said to the evidence leader, when he asked me that question, I said, I'm worried about that. Because to me, it signifies a very, very drastic change from the time I got to know Mkhudzi to what I now know about him. And now, it shouldn't be like all the time I was aware or I've been aware of these things. People do change, or you do become aware of things that you wouldn't want to associate yourself with, or even if it's at a comradely level, because you don't expect those things to be done by people who call themselves comrades. But it shouldn't mean that I'm part of what he is doing or has been doing. And it shouldn't be assumed that all these things that are being revealed now, I'm part of them. I'm not part of them. I'm not part of them. And I'm not part of them. And I couldn't be part of that.
I accept that, Minister.
I don't have such a history myself. And I'm worried about it.
I accept that you're saying you're not part of that, and you are not aware of what this character that you refer to as a comrade is like, that the conduct is displaying now and all of that. You are not aware of this from
Absolutely.
2017.
Absolutely. And
Now
I'm
you
honest about
realize
that.
there is a character here that is going around in my name. What did you do about it? Did you, for instance, let's say 31st December, the letter goes to the special advisor. From there it goes to chief of staff. Then it finds itself in Mkhudzi's hands. And Mkhudzi sends that to Matala and he says, we're done. This thing is done. You're no longer going to be troubled. When a character like that starts engaging in that kind of an activity, as a minister, what initiative did you take to really find out as to how did this guy get hold of this letter of mine? Because I'm now realizing he's using my name wrongly. What have you done about that?
Firstly, before I come specifically to that, you must have heard that General Mkhwana did say that this letter also did reach him. I'm sure you remember that. That he got it from Mkhudzi.
He said Mkhudzi sent it to him.
Okay. So I don't know, well, I don't seem to have that understanding, but fine. Now, at some point, I think, I can't say which month, but it is this year. Somebody said to me, Brown Mkhudzi seems to be dropping your name at different places with different people. I called him after that to say, there is a person here who tells me, you drop my name wherever you are. And he denied it. He denied vehemently, saying that, no, Minister, they were not talking about me. it's not me. And at that time, I wasn't aware of WhatsApps, his relationship with Matlala, his many other things that have come to be known. So I was also just talking on what I had heard, not knowing the substance.
No, I agree, Minister. I don't have time. I'm not talking about when you didn't know. I'm talking about a period when you have known that this person was also in possession of a sensitive letter that deals with issues
Yes,
of crime.
Yes, I was coming to
once
that.
that was picked up, what have you done about it?
I was coming to that. I phoned him to say, I seem to get the fact that you got into possession of this letter. How did he said, no, this thing was full in social media. I picked it up from social media. That was the response he gave me.
As a minister of police, with crime intelligence, with all manner of investigating powers and all of that, you take no initiatives except to call me and say, no, I hear you got a hold of my letter. How did you get it? I say, I got it on social media, and you leave it at that. Because I'll tell you why. We are in this situation, amongst other things, because of this letter. And therefore, a serious effort should have been put in place. If we're taking this ministerial position serious, we should have put some serious investigation in place as to how does my letter find itself in Mokgotzi's hand, and Mokgotzi says it was in social media. How do we track that all the way to the original source? The only thing you know, you guys, is to retrieve seen once WhatsApps. You can't trace a letter that comes from your office. Because electronic documents are traceable, that they're from here to here to here. You make no effort. Even when you have now realized this thing has put us to where we are now, that you write a letter, we have no problem with that. We can debate the legality of it. Mokgotzi takes a letter, send a letter to Matlala. He says, that thing that was troubling you, we've dealt with it. Here's a copy of the letter. That alone should have told you, man, we're dealing with a serious syndicate here. I'm trying to resolve issues of the police, only to find that unwittingly or wittingly, I'm now find myself entangled in the cartels. Because Mokgotzi put you in the cartels, and that should have concerned the Minister of Police and say, we should be on top of this issue and find the person from my office, either the acting commissioner's office, either the commissioner's office, either the chief of staff, either the special advisor, or Ngabinde, my chief of staff. There must be a leakage there. And this leakage finds an expression in the hands of the cartels. That should have troubled the minister, as much as it's troubling us, ordinary people, because when that was heard, when General Mkhwanazi addressed the press conference, everybody said, no ways. Something ought to have been done. That's how South Africans felt. You should have felt somehow like that before, when you discover that your letter that deals with sensitive matter is now in the hands of criminal cartels. And therefore, I want to find out who did that.
Now, it's not true what you are asserting, that you didn't do anything. But I take it that you are asking a question. What is it that I did? Firstly, I did phone him to say, how did this happen? That's the first thing. And he explained to me as I've explained. And so I kept quiet about it. But when then matters came after 6 July, first thing I did, I called him. Oh, so you are all over, and I hear this and I hear that. And his response was, no, Minister, leave those matters with me. General Mkhwanazi is not speaking the truth. So I then said, fine, but on my own, I am investigating the matter, not through crime intelligence, through a private investigator. That is what I'm doing, and that matter is in progress. I don't want to say anything further. Because of the reasons that you are talking about, I am interested not just on how he landed the letters, but other matters that relate to that.
Minister, the Chief of Staff makes, through General Mkhwanazi, they came to see you at your home state in KZN, flew all the way, and then from there, he meets General Mkhwanazi. He says, no, I want to introduce you to the Minister of Water Affairs. And then General Mkhwanazi says to this guy, how do you know the minister? No, when we're in IPIT, he was a person of interest. And then we went there to check him up, and I actually helped him with a matter we're investigating. And so in a way, he owes me a favor that I've done some work to protect him. We had a case or something like that. It says that to General Mkhwanazi, which he came and said it, yeah. And then from there, today we hear that no, there were stories that you killed one of the bodyguards and things like that. And then you complained about that, and then they came to see you and all of that. Do you think that it was, and given what he has been saying, I mean, he has also been communicating with General Mkhwanazi about issues that are in your office, and then he will take from General Mkhwanazi and speak to you and all of that. And I put it to General Mkhwanazi that perhaps this guy played both you and the minister. He said to the minister, no, I'm going to bring the general of the police to you, is my guy, this and that. You're like, oh, okay, no, that's fine. It's always good to know people. Then he says to General Mkhwanazi, no, I'm going to take you to Minister of Police, is my guy. I once helped him with something, blah, blah, blah. And now all these kind of stories are coming out about him. On hindsight, do you think it was a correct decision to appoint him as a Chief of Staff?
Now, firstly, I need to correct or put things my own way. I don't think it was a question of my guy, because I don't have evidence for that. But what I think happened, they spoke, because they came in one car. They spoke themselves before to say, maybe they need to come and see me and we'll have a chat. It was not my initiative. It was an initiative of one of them. I don't know who. I didn't ask that question. But Kabinda did tell me that, informed me that they've had a chat and they would want to come for a light chat, and they did. From where I sit, I was getting troubled by a number of incidents in eThekwini relating to their Department of Water. I don't know how many people had been killed, but I know that they went up to 7 people who were getting murdered because of this and that and so on. So I thought that it would be important to take the opportunity and have an informal chat so that in future, when we deal with these matters, it's somebody I know face-to-face. We've had the discussion face-to-face. Now, you are now saying, so that's what happened. You are now saying, with hindsight, do I think it was a good thing to do so. Take Kabinde as now. I am looking at it. I have had a chat with Kabinde to say, what about this? What about that? And so on. We're discussing that matter. I haven't reached a conclusion amidst these all things that it was wrong or right beyond just recognizing that procedurally he followed all the procedures in human resource. It is the same as Mkhotsi. With hindsight, would I have maintained his number and contact? Is the same thing that is that I'm reviewing seriously to say, when we started and got to know each other, I didn't know this, I didn't know that, and so on. I wouldn't want to have contact with somebody who does 1, 2, 3, and so on. I'm thinking, and therefore those matters are under review. I haven't concluded because I haven't, seen. I mean, taken the whole matter. We're in the middle of a number of issues currently, so it would be premature to take such a decision at the moment. But it does crop up in my mind.
Minister, when they were searching General Sibia, taking their gadgets, and Kabinde also had a press conference claiming he's being harassed and things like that. Did the police come and take your gadgets? Were you part of the people that were searched by police and gadgets taken from them in the recent past?
I'm told they came to the gates of Branchiron, the government estate within which I live. They didn't get to the house, and I was just told that they came and they said they were wanting to search and seize my gadgets.
So your house you are referring to is a house in the Matlabandlov, not far from the president's house in a government complex in Pretoria. Is that the house you are referring to?
Yes, a house in that Branchiron.
And when they came to do search and seizure, whatever they were coming to do, they were stopped by police from coming to do their work at the gate in a government complex. Am I right? Police were stopped by police. How does that reflect on the police? That police are coming, surely they've got some form of warrant to come and search and seize certain things. And then in the performance of their duty, other police stop them. Is that not a reflection of deep-seated divisions in the police, and to an extent that it looks like you receive certain preference? I mean, IPT comes to your house. When police come to search you, police stop them from the gate. Never search about which or my police, what. But you can't be searched. There's police there. When you've got a complaint, police come to you at your house. Is that not some kind of an abuse of office and some privilege that we don't have? Because everybody got searched, including a general of the police himself got searched. But a minister was supposed to be searched, and police stopped other police from executing their work. As a minister of police, you are a minister of police. Is that a good reflection of the image of the police?
I'm not informed, as you are, or as you may be, that they had a search warrant. I'm not informed about that. I'm not informed that they produced the search warrant, as you are saying. So until I'm told otherwise, I will then be able to answer your question. But so far, my take is that they didn't have or they didn't carry with them, because they would have produced it, and nobody would have prevented them from coming as it happened. But what I'm informed as well is that when they went to Kabinda first, they didn't carry any search warrant. And when they came for the second time, they had the search warrant. But the search warrant they had was dated the day they went there, not the day before, which was evidence that they didn't have. And therefore, it's a subject of another matter, that matter. But it's not because there's any privilege whatsoever. It's not because there's any other thing. It was just that, for now.
But okay, if that is the case, is that not rogue? Like police just rock up in a minister's house without a search warrant, rock up at people's houses. If that is not you abusing privilege, then it is them abusing their power. Because if they go around searching people's houses without proper court documents, it's not in line with what's supposed to happen.
It will come up, and all of us will get to know at some point in the near future what exactly happened. But I didn't do anything to prevent them from coming. But you must understand that part of what we have as a challenge is unlawful arrests and litigations that are all over, causing us to have a lot of concern about similar activities where police act unlawfully themselves, and there's evidence to that effect.
So, Minister, do I understand you to be saying, when you referred, was it Patricia, the lady, to IGI, you were referring the matters she raised about intelligence, or were you asking Inspector General to profile her? Because I don't think it's a job of Inspector, is an Inspector General of Intelligence. So I don't think his job is to profile individuals. His job is to make sure that he protects the integrity of the intelligence structures in the country. So was this assignment to investigate what Patricia raised, or was this assignment to profile Patricia?
Look, she was frequently talking about intelligence, some documents, some information, and so on. So I say to IGI, can you check this individual? I don't know her. I've never spoken to her. I didn't say how. He would know how. He would, for instance, have chosen to go to crime intelligence himself to say, can you do 1, 2, 3? I'm interested in this, or the minister is interested in this. But that's how I dealt with it, because I just wanted to know at that stage, how does she get seemingly to be in possession of some documents, some information on crime intelligence? He is Inspector General of Crime. How he would go about doing his work, I wasn't necessarily to be part of that. And if he had a problem of mandate on that, he would have said, no, I don't deal with that. He didn't say so.
Last question, Minister, is do you think the NPKTT did a good job or not?
I think they did a good job in the context in which they were doing. Because
so why do you fix it when it's not broken?
it is that context as part of the factor. They were created to deal with political killings in the main councillors. They then added Amakosi after that, Induna. They then added other crime activities like Forte, which I don't believe had anything to do with politics and so on. Maybe, I don't know. But they were directed by the president to do that and so on. Now, over time, there's been decline of political killings in KZN in particular. And as one of the factors, they've played a role, but there are other factors. Now, numbers keep on going down, especially after 2023. Now, to a point where in 2025 in March, we were told about one fresh matter. It was early, first 3 months of the year, one matter. I don't know now, but we were told in the same meeting about 7 fresh matters in 2024. And in 2023, that's when the decline started, and so on. At some point it occurred, but it went up a little bit in 2021 and so on. Now, looking at all other factors that have gone through, budgets, structures, all of that, I then made that observation that we need to review, as I said in November in the 2 meetings, and seeing also that this was never meant to be permanent, and there have been extensions. So that they did work in the context of what they were dealing with, and I do want to emphasize for our consciousness that they were dealing, the other context that is important to note is that there are many killings in the country and in KZN, far more than those that were dealt with by political killings. Now,